Hello and welcome to the SSQ Podcast. I'm your host, Ben Quarry, and I'm joined once again by the lovely Valentina Dunn, co-head of London's PPA or Private Practice Associate team. Now,
hello.
Welcome back to the show. Now, today we're going to be talking about the London market, legal market 101 in terms of law firms, right?
Yes.
We want to talk about who's in the market, the different types of opportunities that we typically work across. So, let's have a chat. We talked about the fact that we work with a wide range of firms in London. You know, we work with US firms, Magic Circle, Silver Circle, sort of top 20, top 30 UK firms, some of the boutiques as well. Let's talk through not firm specifics, but kind of big picture, kind of what the sort of really kind of what each of those categories might look like in terms of things like pay, things like work-life balance, things like particular focuses of the firm and stuff like that. Because I think that's something that, again, individuals, they know their area of the market really well, and they know the people they work opposite. They know the work. They know the people, who are in the same firm as them, and they know people who are obviously went to law school with, and that you can see in sort of sister firms or whatever. But actually, any individual lawyer, and I say this as someone who was a lawyer and I thought I knew everything, and then I came into legal recruitment, I realised I knew that much of the market, and the market is that big. That you know what you know.
Yes.
And actually there is an educational exercise in terms of understanding people who operate in different parts of the market, because sometimes the thing that you really want from a push point in terms of kind of what you might be looking for, maybe it doesn't exist in your small section of the market because of the part of the market operating in, but obviously you may be able to find it in a different type of firm. So let's start with US firms, and when I say US firms, having said let's not generalise, let's talk sort of the elite US, the guys who are paying kind of Cravath salaries. And I guess for those who don't know, should we just have a quick chat about when we say Cravath salaries?
What do we mean?
What do we mean?
What do we mean?
Do you want to kind of talk through sort of just some of the key things of sort of stereotypes of these firms, just to give an idea?
So I think Cravath salaries from a starting point is the salary scale, which is the lockstep, which means that from the time that you qualify, or in the States you complete your JD or your LLM and you're on the bar, you've completed the bar. From that point, what we call class years, because it's the year that you finished the JD or the LLM. From that point on, every year you are guaranteed a step up in salary on a scale that's been set. So the kind of difference, that's a key difference. And so you can go online and you can see, and the firm will have...
very transparent.
Exactly. Not only what the base salary is, but also the bonus in the States. There are some firms in London who follow the exact same model in terms of it's a lockstep salary and it's also a lockstep bonus. But some of the UK firms have more bespoke approaches to how they pay out bonuses. But anyway, the starting point for a newly qualified lawyer is 225,000 USD. And in the UK, the firms will set their own exchange rate, and some firms actually have a floating exchange rate. So if the pound is doing badly, you will make more money. But roughly, there are firms of ours that we work with where that's anywhere from 173 to 180,000 pounds for someone who's 24 or 25, having just finished their training contract. So it's a serious amount of cash. So the kind of one of the key selling points for using a lockstep is, I think there are frustrations with UK law firms where, okay, fine, you've uplifted the NQ salary, but what does that mean? And how compressed does it become
for the mid-levels?
For the mid-levels. And, honestly, it does become compressed, because if you were to raise them in the same way as you have with the NQs or that the US law firms do, that would be a problem for profit, right? I'm obviously not in those conversations, but it's something that is kind of one of the things I think really works well for our US law firm clients, is just because I know that when I'm a third year, I'm going to get paid X. So it was set by Cravath, it's a US law firm. And then there have been several kind of salary wars was the term that was used. I think it sounds a bit dramatic, but that was the term that was used.
Briefly renamed the Milbank scale for about 2 weeks until everyone else went and matched it.
So yes, and basically they just want to have parity and make sure that it's all the same across the board. So if you fit into that elite US law firm bracket,
just on that salary war point, actually, I think that is something that is worth stressing, is that with those guys who pay Cravath at the moment, every 2 or 3 years we see there's some sort of movement on what they actually end up paying in terms of the USD amount, right?
Yes.
With some certainty, I can say that as soon as there is movement within a month, 6 weeks, all the firms who previously were paying Cravath will all go up to whatever the new level is. Yeah, that's what we've seen 3 or 4 times over the last
5 years.
6 years. So that is something that also I think these firms pride themselves on paying at the very top of the market.
Yes.
And so there is a race to the top as soon as there is any kind of movement there where everyone will kind of look to match it.
I think so, and a part of that is like just to make sure that we're retaining talent and that we keep that sort of status. So obviously with that comes a certain expectation. Like if I'm paying you £180,000 as a newly qualified lawyer, it's not going to be a work-life balance option.
Yeah.
And I think a part of that comes from, you were talking about kind of what the focus is for those firms of the US law firms. It's a part of it's because they're very, very private equity focused. And so those clients are demanding, which means that it's the knock-on effect, it's demanding on your own time. And obviously that's proven to be very successful. And these businesses are, making billions of dollars. So there is a knock-on effect.
And I think that's also a differentiator in terms of a lot of the US firms who some of them have been in London for 40, 50 years, right?
Yeah.
So some they're not all new to London, but certainly the sort of the big expansion over the last 20 years, which actually kind of has coincided with SSQ's existence to a great extent, is we have seen the US firms come in with that sector focus, private equity, private capital, and everything that ancillary that sort of adds on to that. If you compare that to the traditional large UK firm model, Magic Circle, Silver Circle firms, obviously they tend to be more full service. They'll have departments who cover everything, and they won't all be as sector focused. And you get a great variety of work as part of that.
Yes.
But they just operate, and they have great individual private equity teams as well, because they do the same kind of work, of course. But they do have that kind of broader focus. And I guess talking about those sorts of firms, Magic Circle, Silver Circle, I think Magic Circle's always one of those ones where everyone's pretty sure on who the Magic Circle are in terms of the firms. Some people might argue whether slaughters count or not count, because slaughters are slaughters.
Yes.
But and Silver Circle obviously is slightly more nebulous as to how you cut it,
who's included,
who includes it.
Yes.
But just again, broad picture, what these guys pay, and again, you're right. There's bunching. It's difficult. The easiest level probably to talk about is the NQ level, right? Because that's the one that everyone puts on the front page. Everyone wants to talk about, look how great our NQs are paid. There is, as you say, bunching in some of these firms that there aren't elsewhere. But talk to me about sort of how comp typically works at these firms, just to give people an idea of where they sit in the market compared to, if we're saying that the top of the market is 180 in terms of the elite US firms, sterling 180. Where did the Magic Circle sit? Where did the Silver Circle sit? And I appreciate with the latter is a little bit more of a range.
For the NQs at a Magic Circle firm now, I think it's around about 150 grand now. I know that there are some pay 145 or 100, but by and large it's 150. And then that will go up to by anywhere from 5 to 10 grand per PQE level. And that's typically how it works. And the bonuses, again, vary. I mean, obviously the billable target at these firms is 1,700. So it's less than US law firms, but I don't think that their bonus structures are as generous as US law firms, although they can be very creative to get it up to Cravath level.
Definitely, I've definitely noticed and maybe it's an offensive mechanism, or it's a talent retention tool, and depending on how you want to describe it, but they have definitely developed a lot more flex in the way that they can kind of run their bonuses now. And some of these are very transparent about how they work, and they'll say, right, this split is linked to hours, this split is linked to appraisal performance, and you can kind of map through, okay, if I get this score and I do these hours, this is what I'm going to get.
Yes.
Others are still a little bit more sort of hand wavy, and you sort of go, okay, well, we can make sure that you're in a good place.
You'll be happy.
But, you sort of go, how did you get to that number? It's not always super transparent.
Yes.
But I do think there has been a move in terms of firms being a little bit more creative, should we say, in terms of making sure that actually if you have someone who is good, who is working hard, they're going to do everything they can to make sure money is not the reason they're leaving, right?
Totally.
So we've talked about US firms, we've talked about Magic Circle, Silver Circle.
Yes.
Let's go to the opposite end of the spectrum, not in terms of pay necessarily or anything like that, but actually in terms of size.
Yes.
So these guys, the guys we've already been talking about, obviously tend to be very international, tend to be very large in terms of just the number of lawyers they have.
Thousands.
But we also do a lot of work with some of the smaller guys, the boutiques, who are a little bit more specialist, sometimes only focusing on one area and things like that. And they do some pretty interesting things in terms of the type of work they do, in terms of how they kind of reward their people, because being a different size and a different scale means that they actually can be a little bit more creative with the way that they do things. So, I mean, talk to me about boutiques. So what sort of things do you see in terms of kind of the areas we see them, some things that maybe they do that's a little bit different to, your sort of slightly larger firms?
Yeah, so the way that I think about boutiques, because you can kind of have the overhead of boutiques and they can be broken into different categories. And I think the easiest way to do that is thinking about the sector focus or the practice focus, I should say. So, litigation boutiques, you have US litigation boutiques who all they do is disputes work, whether that be commercial, like high court work or arbitration. And so there are probably like 3 large US law boutiques that exist in London. And then you have ones that are arbitration focused. And then you also have UK boutiques who exist and might do claimant work or whatever. And obviously the headcount of these businesses is smaller. The advantage of the fact that you have the boutique is the fact that everybody in that firm is focused on this practice area. And
it's worth noting as well that actually a lot of the time these guys have been set up because the founding partners perhaps got frustrated that being part of a much bigger entity,
not the heartbeat,
not the heartbeat, but also sometimes they find that actually they get conflicted out of doing work.
Oh yes,
because they go, sorry, you can't act for this person because the person they want to sue is a big client of the finance team or whatever, and therefore it's not in our interest. We have a conflict. And so actually the idea that a lot of these boutiques, one of the reasons why they want, a lot of the guys want to set them up
is to avoid conflict.
Was to be conflict free, to be able to say, actually, we want to choose who we want to work for. We want to work on the biggest, the best, the most complex, whatever. And we don't want to have to be told, sorry, corporate are doing a deal, so we're not interested in your work.
in the litigation, unfortunately. Yeah, so that's an area. Yeah. Another area that SSQ does a lot of work in is with media entertainment boutiques. So I think that's kind of part of the joy of working in our team, is that although we do all this strategic work for US law firms and we work with the Magic Circle and Civil Circle and international law firms, if someone says to me, actually, my lifelong dream is to be a music litigator or to work just in general in the media entertainment space, if I don't have anything to pitch to them and if I don't have any of that network, then that relationship kind of becomes redundant for them, right? So I think the fact that we work with media and entertainment boutiques as well as just other good work-life balance. Sports, we do a lot of work with sports. Yes.
Often something that we get people coming to us from the very, very large law firms saying, I'm sport mad, I really want to do this work. And if we didn't, as you say, if we didn't have those relationships with these specialists, it would be very difficult to actually help people action that.
Yeah.
But the reality is, because we work with all these different segments of the market, if someone comes to us and says, I want more money, someone comes to us and says, I want better work-life balance, someone says, actually, I want to focus on X, Y, or Z type of work, whatever combination is on this person's wish list, there'll be somewhere in the Venn diagram that we can help them out with it, right? And sometimes we have to say, you want A, B, C, and D. We can get you A, B, and C, but D, nothing exists with all 4 of those. And actually, sometimes having that frank conversation can be very useful to help that person actually think about, well, actually, which of these is the most important thing for me? Because, again, I think, we see this quite often where someone decides that they're going to, they qualify into one area, they practice a certain number of years in that area, and then they just decide, I'm now going to become a completely different kind of lawyer. And the reality is it's very difficult to do that. And so, being able to have those candid conversations with someone and say, right, we can get you closer to what you want to do, but actually to get all the way there, it's not there's not one move that gets you there, right? Maybe it's possible in 2 moves. Maybe we have to take a much longer term strategic aim to get you there.
Yeah.
But actually then at least they are fully informed of what the reality of the situation is, as opposed to just waiting for that absolute Hail Mary pass that may never come.
Yes. I think so. And I think it's also from the client's perspective. If they ask me for X and I give them Y, it's like, well, why am I paying you a fee for Y?
Yeah. I didn't ask for Y.
I didn't ask for Y. So give me X, please. And so, but yeah, I think the part of that is obviously strength in numbers, because our team is large enough. It means that we can handle having that coverage of the market, and hopefully be able to facilitate the move that the individual wants, even if it's not ABCD and just ABD or whatever it might be. And with that comes having the knowledge to be able to help them
completely,
guide that decision.
And I guess, and this is something we'll come on to in another episode, but the other advantage that we have in terms of kind of the range of what we offer is, we've obviously only been talking about the London market, that is just one part
tiny
of the wider
part
SSQ
of
empire.
what
So,
SSQ does.
people who say, actually, I really want to go to, relocate to Australia or the States or the Middle East or whatever.
Yeah.
Or, actually, I want to move in-house, and we'll talk to the in-house girls later. But there are so many options open to these people that, I always say that in terms of our specialism, SSQ, only focus on legal. We don't touch anything outside of that, but every single flavour of lawyer, every single variety of lawyer you can imagine, and a variety of role you can imagine, we cover.
Mm-hmm.
So, whatever, provided you want to remain being a lawyer, we can help you.
Yes.
If you don't want to be a lawyer anymore, we can maybe help you become a legal recruiter.
Would you like to do recruitment?
A few of us, fell into that trap and became legal recruiters when we were looking at other legal options.
It's super helpful as well when a role comes through and I'm like, what is an SPA? I mean, obviously I know what that is now, but having somebody who has been a corporate lawyer or a real estate lawyer or a finance lawyer, it means that, like, can you please just give me like idiot's guide to what this area of law is? I know what I'm talking about now, obviously, but earlier on, I think it's really, really helpful. And with all of that comes like something that I think, again, makes our business unique is our partner team. So I know that there are other agencies out there who have a partner team, but we have dedicated 8 or 9, consultants who are responsible for a lot of, but they help facilitate the moves of very, market changing moves that happen in London and also now in the States and in the Middle East and across Asia and also Spain and France. So we it's in Germany, and it's one of these things where because of that team, it means that we have more intel and more, I think, access to firms, which makes our job in the associate team better because we have more value to add because we have more information, right? And also,
often we know, because some of these partner moves, it's launching new practices, it's launching teams, right? So often we will know that this firm X is going to be looking in a certain area before anyone else in the market knows, because we know that there's a partner who hasn't been announced yet, is on their way there.
It feels top secret though. I'm like, ooh.
But again, that's a massive advantage. It's one of the reasons why. You got to find a recruiter you can trust. You got to find it, but actually, the platform the recruiter's on is absolutely integral to that person being able to get, in the room with the right people and get your CV and your profile in front of the right people, so that you stand the best chance to succeed in whatever it is that you're applying for.
We just hope that the SSQ brand just helps give that kind of seal of, gosh, you don't need our seal of approval, but that makes sense.
Yeah, perfect.
It's awesome.
Perfect. Well, Valentina, thank you so much for joining me. I hope we'll get you back on in the not too distant future to talk all things legal recruitment again.
Oh my goodness. Fantastic. Thank you so much.
Thanks.